Boom! What's up, everyone? Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Alan Sakian. Very excited to be talking about spatial computing. We have the founders of Infinite Retina joining us. Irena Cronin Robert Scoble. Hello, you two.
Hello.
Hey. Thanks for coming back onto the show for round number 2 for both of you.
Yeah.
Super pumped, super pumped. You guys are both at the early stages of the show. Now we've made it up to almost episode 400 now, and here you are having started Infinite Retina.
That means you're going to ask tougher questions.
We have gotten better. That's right. We have gotten better at our jobs. You've gotten more wisdom on your side as well. You've founded Infinite Retina, which is a spatial computing agency helping entrepreneurs and Fortune 500 companies understand spatial computing in order to create new companies and divisions. InfiniteRetina.com, the link is below, also on Twitter at Infinite Retina, and both Irena and Robert's LinkedIn profiles are linked below as well. So you're holding the Hololens there. We have so much to talk about regarding the Magic Leap and all of the future applications of these technologies. That's right, that's right. And let's start things off with our epic question about the state of humanity. We find ourselves as stewards of Earth.
Yes.
What is your current take on the state of humanity?
Irena and I have been talking a lot about this, and we see a perfect storm of change coming over the next decade. The 2020s are going to see more change for humans, particularly in technology, than we have ever seen, right? More data is going to get created in the next few years than has ever been created. I mean, we just were talking about the Tesla when it goes down the street and it sucks the data from the street, right? With 20 billion transistors.
Yes.
On that little chip that runs just one car.
Absolutely amazing.
Right? You start thinking about
reality.
I mean,
yeah.
On Saturday night, I was walking through a Cray supercomputer, right? Which has hundreds of miles of wire and very few transistors compared to the little chip that's running a Tesla car today, right? And that cost millions of dollars at the beginning of my career, right? Yeah. It's crazy what's happened in our lives, and we're about to see more change. So let's talk about changes, right? Autonomous cars are arriving. Autonomous vehicles are arriving. You're starting to see it. Our Tesla drove us here from Campbell, right? Most of the way.
Really well.
Really well.
Yeah.
Right?
And you guys were just chilling.
Just chilling.
I don't know. I feel really comfortable in it.
Yeah.
I never had an issue. There's something about the way it moves.
Because it's better at driving than I am.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
By the way, I can tell when I take somebody out and they turn on autopilot, I can tell that the computer's driving because it's really smooth on the lane.
It's extremely
smooth. When it goes back to a human driving, they're inconsistent. They drift around the lane a little bit, and I can tell that. Right.
But I mean, in terms of the different types of technology, so it's spatial computing,
which is computing you can move through.
It includes AR, VR, and AI,
robots,
all the machine learning, computer vision, everything that you would need, the technology and software to be able to move in a three-dimensional world. Okay, so that is a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not only one thing. It's that people are talking about AR. AR is different than VR, and then there's AI, and then there's autonomous cars. There's a lot that connects all of these different technologies, and it should be viewed like that because it is all about three-dimensionality.
And at the same time, our cloud computing is ratcheting up to something new.
Yeah.
We haven't yet even we were arguing on the way here, what do we call this thing that's in the sky that we're talking to, you know? I joke around that's like a god, but it's Alexa or Siri, right? Or Google Assistant. It's listening to me full time in my house. I have these things all over the house, right? Yes. And on my computer and on my phone, right? I can say, "Hey Siri," and it'll come up and start doing things, right?
Yes, yes.
We're about to see new cryptocurrency, right? And everything that comes along with that, decentralized computing and a new architecture. And we probably in this decade, we're going to see quantum computing really come along. So we're about to hit people with
Yeah.
a lot of change. And we haven't even gone into all the,
Yeah,
the
that's
little
right.
weeds,
That's right.
right?
The weeds yet.
I started talking to somebody about this. He goes, "Oh, you totally forgot about what's going on in genetics research, right?" And it's like there's another revolution happening there, right?
That's true.
And there's others, right?
Yeah.
All hitting at the same time. So humans are going to see a lot of change. Let's just talk about America. America, what's the number one job? Truck driving.
Mm-hmm.
That job is going away.
Yeah.
I can state that definitively, that if you're a truck driver, you will probably not have your job in 15 years. Probably less.
Yeah.
Why? Because a self-driving truck is cheaper than you are.
Yeah.
And safer.
And safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, the truckers themselves are going to buy it first because they're paid by the load, right? If I need a load carried from Oakland Port to New York for some reason, I call up a trucking broker and I pay by the load. And so the trucker is going to be very incented to buy one of these new Tesla, and there's others, Daimler, Volvo, they're all building these autonomous trucks. Why? Because have you ever driven across the United States?
Mm-hmm.
I have. I did it last summer,
It's
right?
really hard.
It's really hard. And if you're a trucker, you have to stop every so often. I think it's every 12 hours, 10 or
Get
12
checked,
hours.
yeah.
No, it's get some sleep,
Well, yeah,
And
but
stop.
they do check on you.
right?
Yeah.
And there's a log that you have to
Yeah.
fill out. You have to stop. Well, what's right around 10 hours? Nevada. What's Nevada? It's a straight road with no pedestrians, no cross traffic, right? It's a boring road to drive, right? Can you push a button and go in the back and sleep for 4 hours while it drives across Nevada? Hell yeah, you can. And now you don't have to stop. So your load will get to the other side of the country faster. You'll get paid more.
So what a lot
So
of
you'll
people
buy
are,
a new truck
Yeah.
because you're getting paid more on every load, right?
But I just want to add something to that. A lot of people are saying, yeah, there's going to be many, many people who will lose their jobs, but it's not going to be that their whole job is going to be gone. It'll take at least 20 years or maybe more, depending on the type of job, where the person is actually working, doing a job, and then doing something that's automated or helping the automated piece work. It's just gonna, and sometimes it's gonna stay like that. So
even
that's
in
not
this,
so bad.
Even in this step, let's stay on truck drivers,
Yeah.
right? Because now let's say a truck driver buys a Tesla truck to drive cross country, and he or she is not stopping anymore. Person lost their job at the hotel that used to manage their
I know.
stay.
Yeah.
And the cafe where they used to stop to get food, right?
Right.
And all the
All that
other
will change.
jobs. America's about to reconfigure.
So we have
Right?
to figure out what kind of jobs they're gonna have in the future.
Okay, let's do a
And that's just
synthesis.
jobs. We
Yeah.
haven't even started
It's a
thinking
lot.
about the cultural.
Yes,
There's
yes.
cultural changes that are going to be crazy.
Okay, I'll hit the tennis ball back. Let's see how
Yeah.
well I can do here. All right, so the 2020s are going to be a massively profound shift for us across all the sectors. One of the main things that we see right now is we see all of the technology decreasing in cost, increasing in efficiency, decreasing in size.
Yeah.
And look at that. That's a 360 camera right there.
Yeah. So you put it on a little stick. This camera 4 years ago, my first camera, I took the first 360 video at Coachella 4 years ago. And my camera cost $3,000. This camera cost $400 and is way, way, way better than the camera I used 4 years ago, right? Not even in the computer vision that's going on in this thing, and we should pull out my phone so you can see how steady it is. But it's looking around the room and doing machine learning to see the room and steady it out. It's freaking amazing, right? Because I could shake it like this and it's steady.
Steadies it.
It's nuts, right?
And with just two wide-angled cameras, it can have
This is seeing in 360 degrees.
seeing in 360 degrees, including up and down and left and right, and it's doing a little stitch line, and it's
And
very
I've
Inside.
started seeing prototypes in R&D labs where this is built into your cell phone.
that's
That I know about already.
So
Yeah.
right, so you're
Yeah.
holding your phone in a few
Yeah.
years up in the air. If you're in the front row of
Yeah.
Beyonce, right? You're going to hold your phone up like this, and you're going to be broadcasting in 360 to people who are wearing some sort of thing on their face and able to experience what it's like to be in the front row with you.
Moving through it, yeah.
Yeah. Or at least, you know, and by the way, this camera does two things, right? It does also 3D 180.
That's very interesting too. Yeah, correct.
180 is actually really interesting.
Duplicates your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
And that's also going to be a big deal coming soon, right? In the next 2 years.
Yes.
So those two things of being experiential, being able to see what a place feels like all the way around, like this I can take you into this room with this.
Correct.
Or be able to see it in 3D and see you in depth.
Robert, this is mostly a consumer thing. So
yeah, this is $400.
Just to let you know, Infinite Retina is working with enterprise.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not dealing with consumer level right now because spatial computing is not ready for that.
Yeah.
Probably in another 2 to 3 years it will be.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on right now which is stopping it from turning into a consumer product.
Well, this is being used by Walmart to train their employees in a new way, and they bought 17,000 VR headsets. So there are implications even here, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll continue with
Please.
a little hit back. It's also very interesting that you take this all the way into not only Moore's law, but then also the Carlson curve in biotech as well, and all the implications there in neurotech, and then to decentralization and the Internet of Things, and the amount of data that we create in every 2 years is equal to 90% of all of the data that's ever been created.
Yeah.
It's just continuing to happen.
It's exponentially going up right now
data.
because of the self-driving car. The self-driving car, as it drives down the street, just slurps up all this data, right? And soon we're going to have that on our glasses. We're going to have little cameras. I met the guys who built the LG camera, which is the camera here.
Well,
right?
you also have the Google, you know, the buildings. They're able to see through buildings, and, and they're mapping out just whole streets that way. So it's a
You're seeing
combination.
Apple and Google and others carrying backpacks with cameras sort of like this, you know, enterprise cameras that are slurping up all the data to get a 3D model of the world, right? And there's a company here in San Francisco called 6D.ai, which builds a map of your house with a cell phone.
With a cell phone.
Yeah.
With a cell phone. Right.
Okay, we actually, when we had Andra Kay on the show, she also explained it like a Cambrian explosion, except for robotic perception, and that's so that's a really profound way of looking at things, because if you were also going into buildings with it as well, it's not just mapping streets, it's mapping inside of buildings, inside of houses, the interconnectedness of all of these. It's also profound to, you know, you had your 2 children in the back of the Tesla in your video, and it's just like, your kids are growing up with an autonomous car. Your kids are growing up being educated with augmented reality. And I wonder how the neural circuitry wires and remembers data based on a 3D model of the gastrointestinal tract and the biology of the human system and the solar systems than from a textbook.
So
she
much
says better. Oh, than a textbook?
And then videos.
I was thinking like if you teach me something like how to cook a meal, right? And then I see it in VR, do I learn the same? I say it's the same. Compared to a textbook?
Yeah, I knew he was doing that.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
They're teaching people how to fix $1 million tractor at Caterpillar with augmented reality in real time on the tractor without doing a book, without doing a classroom, right?
You don't need to
in real time.
I mean, we're working with surgeons who are doing this kind of training in real time on top of the surgery patient. They're wrapping the MRI scan on top of the body.
We have a new client that is about to get a new trial, and we'll be working with the FDA shortly to do surgery for cancer patients using the HoloLens.
Yeah.
On the spot.
It's more accurate than the system that existed before.
So the amount of innovation that is happening in so many different areas is astounding. And just the people that are thousands of people working in the same kind of areas. I said spatial computing, but the different verticals for different kinds of reasons and effects, and it's just it's very difficult for people to see because it's done at a private level. A lot of these companies are either really small entrepreneurial companies, or they're larger companies that are private and don't want to talk about it, or they're Hollywood studios that will never tell you what's going on. And the information flow is extremely bad as a result, and reporters can't get the information. So people really don't know what's going. It's a black box, right? Until it gets announced.
And it's hard to get a demo of what the magic is here, because you can capture this all day long. I can't really show you.
You'd have to be a developer for Hololens
what this is like to wear and
Yeah.
to see aliens coming out of your walls, right? Or see information laid over a factory floor, right, in here. It's nuts.
Follow a guided meditation. It's
Wow.
there's another thing here. It's not only, like you were describing earlier, not only being used for the education of children and how that's a profound shift, but also to do real-time surgery, real-time machinery work. One of the things with
chemistry. You can write an equation in the air, and it shows you the molecules joining in the air. I wish I had this as a tool when I was in school.
Yeah.
Right.
And just on the quick point there is that when considering the amount of conversation that's occurring around the planet around the job loss with automation, it's simultaneously extremely important to realize that the organizations that are able to figure out how to most effectively train people for the decentralized IoTs, automation, infrastructures, programming, and all of these different environments, these are the jobs that are opening up by the hundreds of millions that we need the proper tools to do the retrainings, and the young people are coming into these spots.
We just visited Intel down in Hollywood, right? Down in LA.
It's in Manhattan Beach. It's the Intel studios.
She lives there, so she has to be very accurate.
And it's a volumetric studio, so it's separated from Intel, but go ahead. Yeah.
But what's happening, if you go to Universal Studios and do the little tour, right? They take you around all these warehouses and these sets, physical sets.
Yeah.
That's how they used to do movies, right? They're getting rid of that. They're digitizing every physical thing. So like this cup now, if it's in a movie, is not a cup at all. It's a scanned 3D item that a director decides needs to be on the table in front
and it's
of us.
click and drag for implementing it.
And the studio is a huge dome. It's all green on the sides, so they can replace the walls with whatever they want.
Or they could be playing in the
They
air.
had 168 cameras around it with a data center of Intel computers in the bottom of it. Right?
Yeah.
So that they could make crazy, they're using the techniques that are using in this little tiny $400 camera, but in a multi-million-dollar studio to make movies and TV shows, all virtually. And you think about the jobs that are there, they're all very new and very different. The person who used to take care of the physical sets, their job's gone or going away, like now, right? That person needs to be retrained, and there's actually a school that does this, a virtual film school. I talked to the founder, and he found a way to retrain people faster and cheaper than going back to film school and doing it old style. Because you only need to learn a very small curriculum of how to do new things, right? How to do virtual lights. Your lights are physical. In the movies, they can move the lights to wherever they need to be virtually. And the cameras are done virtually, right? And the sets are done virtually. And the effects, we can blow this room up in a movie, right?
One person can make an entire movie.
Yes.
Somebody is going to come along, that's probably around 18 years old right now, maybe 20. They're going to come along just like Robert Rodriguez did and found a way to make films cheaper with big name actors, and he revolutionized the movie industry back then. Same thing's going to happen in the next 5 years. You're going to see somebody come along who figures out how to tell stories a new way with this new technology and does it very cheaply because everything's virtualized.
But
We're just going to be.
he doesn't even know what to say.
My imagination is roaring.
Keep in mind.
I'm telling you, we go through this every day. There's always something that is just like, I can't believe this is true.
Keep in mind.
This is happening.
How much demand is there going to be for this new movie?
I had this conversation with a company which I cannot name over a year ago, which started even before Intel, and Intel Studios knows about them. And for 2 days, I was almost speechless. I was like, this is a new world.
10x, 100x?
You know?
Because soon you're going to have an IMAX on your freaking eyes.
We create our own universe. We create our own environment. We make stories in that environment. I mean, imagine a sofa that is not at all real, but looks truly real.
Yeah.
We place it in the space, wherever that is. We take an actress that is in another location, like in London. We put her on the sofa that is in this digital location.
Yeah.
She sits down on that sofa, and it moves according to how her body has moved on the sofa.
The mass of her body on the sofa.
It all adds up, and it's all.
And the light changes with her
It's
sitting.
nuts.
It's all live.
Right.
Yeah.
They can do that now.
And this was called a volumetric dome.
Yeah.
Well, that's the place.
And so when I entered a dome's settings like this, there are completely digitally created movies with what could even be the actual.
You can have a
actors and
basketball game
actresses.
in the dome, so you can have a basketball team in the dome captured, right? In volumetric, everything is 3D. Grab that basketball team and do anything. Put them in a virtual set. The crowd is going to be all virtualized, right? So the Coliseum is going to be virtualized. Whatever, everything in movies is fake. Now the reason
from this OG Coliseum, all the way to hundreds of millions of people tuning in live into.
I was flying back from Dubai one time, and I was sitting at the lounge on it. Emirates, right? Emirates has a nice lounge. You can meet people. What do you do? Oh, I just got done with Star Trek. Oh, really? What do you do? What did you do there? He goes, oh, I'm a costume designer. And I go, oh, tell me about that. And he goes, well, I got in the business because my dad did Ben-Hur's costumes back in the 50s, 60s, right? When was Ben-Hur done? Earlier?
I don't know.
Earlier.
I'm too
Early
young for
ages
that.
of movies, right? And they were very intricate costumes because that's how they did costumes. He says, my job now is to put 32 white dots on an actor.
Whoa, yeah.
To change their
every costume you saw in the latest Star Trek did not exist in the real world. It was virtually created by a costume designer somewhere virtually and put on top of the actor. So nothing you see in movies is real anymore.
We've been told that 80% of what's currently in movies this year is CGI.
80% is CGI already.
Yes. I could not believe that, but that comes from a very reputable
So when I
person
sat down
in
with the
industry.
CTO of Comcast, I said, what is a new pair of glasses that hooks into 5G and lets us see a movie theater, because this was coming soon, like 2, 3, certainly no more than 4 years. 4 years from now, we're going to have a thing on our face that's going to be a lot smaller than this, that's going to have 4, 8, 16, 32K screens.
Personalized for you.
Per eye.
Yeah.
Personalized. It's going to be like you put an IMAX theater on your face, right?
And I'm going to be playing with that in the three-dimensional space.
Yes.
And it's going to be really powerful computing that is potentially not even going to be locally occurring, but occurring through the 5G web.
So
then the hardware here is not even going to be that much hardware.
That's the magic of 5G, and that's why everybody is going crazy about it.
Yeah. 10
quickly explain
gigabits
this
per
to me
second.
Yes, we're going to get there. I know we're about to get there.
5G.
Explain to me just quick, one step back. Are we talking physical environments like these volumetric domes still being relevant for people to physically come and attend, or are we talking me being able to be at home and observing?
No, they're made to capture us. Because we still, an actor, right? A face.
Oh, okay, pause. 168 volumetric camera. I stand in it, or a cup sits in it. The couch sits in it. They capture it.
A basketball team.
That's what this volumetric dome becomes a digital asset.
Yeah.
Then, I see. And then all of these things get put into they assemble it in a single filmmaker. However many team can assemble this in the CGI digital space.
Yes.
Then this gets distributed to this 8 billion humans.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So these domes are important for the capturing of physical items at their most granular, highest fidelity level.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, now 5G, please. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
5G.
Yeah.
What part of 10 gigabits per second to your glasses don't you understand?
10 gigabits per second?
And that's the start.
Per second?
Yeah. 10 times faster than LTE. The way Huawei put it, it's like having a fiber optic cable to your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
A fiber optic directly to the phone.
There's a reason why Verizon is now talking about 5G nonstop, and it started last year.
Yeah.
They made it part of their messaging because it is super powerful, and that's why they're really interested now in entertainment, because they can bring.
There's two other. 5G brings you three things: 10 gigabits per second, maybe 25. Huawei was showing me 25 gigabits per second.
We're all talking about optimum, obviously.
Optimum.
There's going to be times when.
Keep in mind, there's a lot of downsides. Let's just talk about what they're going to push at us, right? They're going to talk about the bandwidth. They're going to talk about latency. 2 millisecond latency.
2 millisecond.
One of the CEOs I heard said it's zero latency. Right?
I guess 0.
Your brain can be tricked then, because if the latency is under whatever 100 milliseconds, then your brain gets tricked into.
Yeah. And when I went to the World Series game at AT&T Park, I pulled out my phone, tried to take a selfie. I couldn't even make a phone call in AT&T Park. That problem goes away also. So there's 3 advantages of 5G, right? Do you want to cover the downsides?
Bandwidth, latency, and the ubiquity.
Many more devices per cell tower.
Many more devices per cell tower.
IoT,
yes.
And robots, robotic cars, right? You can have a whole city with millions of devices, and the infrastructure will stay up. Right.
But it seems as though a good amount of infrastructure has to go up in order to enable it. We're talking like every couple blocks.
It's very expensive.
Every couple blocks it needs to go up. And
so there was a conversation, well, it was actually a Facebook kind of dialogue with some engineers that I recently had about some issues that exist that Verizon and some other companies, they say, are throttling them because the costs are already starting to add up. So because the costs are very expensive, there's going to be stuff that's going to be not optimum until 5G goes up. There's issues with certain locations. It's not really clear at the last, what they say, the last delivery point, how the 5G gets delivered. So if that system is antiquated, what needs to get done to fix it? Sometimes it's not possible.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
5G, it's a higher frequency. It doesn't go through walls very easily. So if you're inside and the cell tower's outside, now you got to figure out how to get that fast.
You need a point of entry.
In here,
a point of entry.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's also an issue.
And you have to be within 1.5 kilometers of a cell tower. Right now, LTE works 10, 15 kilometers from a
That's
cell tower.
huge difference,
Right, if you drive down LA, you see there's a cell tower way in the distance, right?
This is what I'm thinking about these issues. Okay, so.
And you have to have a fiber line to that antenna.
As it is with telecom, and I've been watching this for a while, okay? So at the beginning, when there's a new technology, everybody knows what the issues are. They're like, it's not gonna get fixed, or get fixed in 25 years or something like that. And inevitably, it takes about 8 to 10, right? So engineers start working on these issues, and they figure it out new technologies
That's right.
that solve that, and then
Yeah.
there's something new that comes up that's better even. So
And it
I think
leapfrogs
yes,
a lot of the old.
I think right now, from when we're looking at it for the next 5 years or so, there are going to be these existing issues. Engineers will start working on it if they're not doing some entry point fixes right now on it, and it's going to be fixed, and then it's going to be 6G and whatever comes next, right? Which will have its own set of issues.
Okay,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have some visual assets that Ron can pull up right now. We
Yes.
have some of the newer technologies, the HTC Vive Focus, the Magic Leap.
Yeah.
So this is the Vive Focus, and we have the Magic Leap.
Let's stop this.
I just want to explain just
Yeah.
quick. The Microsoft HoloLens, which you've pulled up, but the 2 is the next image. Then the Oculus Quest, and then we skip to the computer vision image, and then the Tesla autonomous car.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, the computer vision.
We'll go
image,
through
and
this
then-
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I wanted to show these because this directly ties into the question that I'm about to ask, because the interconnectedness of the devices that are both on top of our heads, as well as the devices like the autonomous vehicles that are driving with the new robotic perception that's occurring and all of the data that's streaming in from that. A lot of the questions that come up in conversations are around security, they're around ethics, they're around the issues that happen to our biology.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask these questions now, okay? One of the first questions is about the headsets. When we're looking at devices that are already a foot away from our faces, we can literally feel our eyesight deteriorating when we're not looking at things far away from us, because that's how we evolved to look further away than devices this close. Okay, that's one thing. The focal point's already here. So what's going to be the change when the focal point? 1 second, I'm almost done. Just a couple thoughts. The focal point is going to be in the spatial environment, so we can explain in a moment.
Yeah.
And the other questions on the health are on the safety and the ethics around things like harm potentially being done through the autonomous vehicles being hacked into, or there's things like that. And then the last question is about the 5G infrastructure and the way that it affects our biology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's just so much everywhere. So please, yes, what are
There's
your
some
thoughts on
health.
those questions?
Each one of those deserves an hour.
Okay.
That, for instance, on the front of the HoloLens is 4 cameras, right? That makes a 3D map of the room. That's what it's doing. It's building a 3D point cloud of the room, and then it converts that to a polygon mesh and overlaying on you as little triangles, right? That's how it works physically. What happens if you walk in wearing something like this into a bathroom, or if you're in a kitchen or scanning something that maybe you don't want the cloud to know? That's a problem. We have to, as an industry, we have to figure out how to do this to not freak people out. Certainly in bathrooms. And you're going to wear in 4 years, they're going to be about this size. I'm going to replace my current pair of glasses with a smart glass, and I'm never going to take them off. So there are many. No, I do know.
Let me push.
I do know. I'm going to push it to the utmost end, and I am going to wear them, and I'm not going to.
I'm not saying I don't know to that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, people get used to things fairly quickly. All right. If this becomes so ubiquitous as you're talking about, then it becomes a cultural thing, and you learn when to use it and when not to use it.
I know, but the technology is always firing.
No,
right?
that's
It's
not the case. There's going to be some kind of fail-safe built in, so it's not always firing.
That's for the industry to figure out how to do that.
I don't know. Whenever you reach a bathroom, there's like a little thing there, and it shuts it off automatically, right?
But we haven't seen that yet. Right?
Well, yeah, we haven't seen the ubiquity of AR glasses yet either.
Right.
So I think
these are
there's
issues that are
there's
going to
a
have to be
solution.
worked out at the same time.
Yeah, I think when it comes to cultural issues, that's not the difficulty. That's not so difficult. I mean, yes, you had the issue with Google Glass. That was a big cultural faux pas, right? I don't think that's going to be replicated. I think people are excited to be able to use this time around.
Yeah.
There are lessons that were learned. But you're talking about health issues.
Yeah, that's
So,
one of them.
I will tell you that with VR, when VR first started coming out, with the Oculus Rift came out, there were several scientists that said that there are issues, of course, especially with kids. So they were saying under 12 years old. Sony actually made a statement about that.
Very interesting.
And then took it back. So I think it's kind of an unknown issue, but the more sophisticated and better made the headsets are, the less these issues come around. So there's issues about the way that everybody has a different length between, right?
Yeah.
So that needs to be, you need to be able to fix that within a headset, whether it's an AR headset or a VR headset. You need to be able to get your prescription lens.
Yeah.
That already solves a lot of issues with, bad eyesight. There are cases of people, though, that have bad eyesight. They put on the headset, they see perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's adjusting for it. So, anyway,
There's another side to this. I met with an eye doctor down in South Africa, Shirley Calder. She works with professional athletes. She puts light into your eyes and exercises your eyes and makes your eyes better.
Yeah.
She took the worst rider on the South African cycling team. After using her app for 10 minutes a day for 6 months, he was the worst rider at falls per race on the team because he had a perception problem that when he got in the peloton, which is the grouping of bikes that's around you, he would lose focus and fall. After 6 months of using her app, he's best on the team today.
Yeah, damn. Okay, so there's some ways to augment health with technologies as well.
You
of
have
course.
to know what you're doing.
Of course. It's just there's a lot of questions about 5G, especially in our biology. There's a lot of questions around the security of us just propelling ourselves at 80 miles an hour in an autonomous vehicle. And then, of course, why do we already have 1,500 billionaires on the planet. That's probably going to double within the next couple of decades. And a question becomes, the security teams are already massive enough. What ways are we building out the next 2020s, really? In terms of wealth, a lot of wealth over the last 50 years has been towards the 1% of civilization, and that's because a lot of times they've invested into the infrastructure that's made creativity and the mass physiological needs ubiquitous for us. Okay, we'll give them that. It's true. At the same time, the whole culture of fifth yacht, fifth car, fifth Rolex, etc. is dying, and millennials and Gen Z are catching on to and sniffing onto it super fast. They know that meaning, purpose, and fulfillment are the top of self-actualization. Absolutely. And so the question becomes, how do we make this work for us all? How do we build out the resource flows so that we can empower more people at their creative best with these technologies that are coming out?
You're asking deep questions that go, I think, beyond even Irena and I's.
Well, I have some idea.
We have ideas, right? Here's one. Right. The truck drivers that are about to get laid off. There's an argument in Silicon Valley that we should do guaranteed minimum income for people like that, right? Just give you a $4,000 a month or whatever the check is that we're going to give them. I don't think that's sellable to America, first of all. I don't think that's right because of what you just said. Mission, purpose. That is a bad way to treat human beings for a lot of reasons. But my dad took my family, my DNA strand, out of poverty in one generation. How? He had a GI Bill. He went to the Army for a couple of years. And when he got out, they paid for his education. He got a PhD. He was the first person in our family to go to college. And that got him to Silicon Valley, where I'm sitting with you today, right? I've seen a school down in Silicon Valley called Silicon Valley 42 that took a chef who did not have any computer experience and today is running a VR company 2 years later. So I know it's possible to take a truck driver and retrain them to a computer science
That's profound.
programming
Yeah.
with a free school with no teachers.
Wow.
All right. Now there is some infrastructure in the school that has a building and it has computers so that he could go someplace and work in a team.
And that gives a lot more meaning and purpose and actualization when they
But
pick
he
what they
needed
want to
2
do.
years. Now, are you willing to learn something new if you're struggling to feed your family and you're having to drive Uber to try to just put money on that
That's
table?
so hard.
So hard.
Yeah.
So I argue that instead of talking about guaranteed minimum income, we should be talking about a new GI Bill for everybody. 2-4 years. Free ride. But you have to go to school. You have to put the glasses on.
You have to put the glasses on. Yeah.
You have to put the glasses on and be in
You
a
learn
school.
faster.
You learn
Now,
faster.
Yeah.
Soon, they won't be ugly, and they'll be really high resolution, and we can learn together. And you can be in Pasadena where you live, and I can be here, and we can be doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Location agnosticism, working on the same
Right.
projects
Learning
together.
to code
Yeah.
together.
I mean, with
doing
the Hololens too, we could do that now too.
yeah,
Correct.
So
yeah, but it's just big and ugly, and it costs
Yeah,
$3,500, right?
Yeah.
Soon that won't be. I'm
Yeah,
soon
yeah.
in the 2020s, which is how we're talking about this. The
prox-
costs will
it'll
come
feel
way down.
like
right?
a proximity thing, like we're right next to each other. So my idea,
Yeah, please.
so my background is actually in economics and finance, and I worked on Wall Street for 8 years as an equity research analyst. I've seen how investment bankers work. I understand how funds are raised and how companies do their IPOs. That's gotta change.
Yeah.
Okay? There's no reason in the world why regular everyday people shouldn't be able to share in the wealth of new companies that are being IPO'd.
Especially because in many ways they helped create that
I
as a
don't-
customer of Uber and Amazon,
Yeah.
etc. Why not have a universal basic asset for those that contributed to even a very minor stake, but still with the thousands of rides that people have taken
Right.
with the company and thousands of items they have purchased from the Amazon store, why not give them a minor stake in the ownership? It's a code update.
Maybe we should be paid for our data.
And being paid for
Well,
data.
yeah.
That's how we redistribute some
I
of the
do.
wealth.
I think people would actually really up for that, and the whole privacy issue would start to melt if we put a price. We are actually able to give people money for it,
Yeah.
and those that want to sell their data will do it, and those that don't want to will not. And that's how it solves a lot of that issue. But I mean, in terms of everyday people being able to have a lot of wealth from IPOs that are happening here in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be able to be the case, except for the existing system that's been like that for quite a while that would make it extremely hard for that to happen. So I'm hopeful in the future that it'll be a direct way that people can actually contribute money and get a lot back, instead of waiting until, they could buy stocks on the stock market. That's too late. You need to be able to get in when you get the IPO.
A friend of mine shared a little prop plane with Reid Hoffman before Reid started LinkedIn. And he put something like $100,000 in. Because Reid said, hey, can you invest in my new company? 100,000 in. He pulled tens of millions out, right? But only rich people who have a plane with somebody like that have that kind of potential. The access.
Yeah.
And you have to be an accredited investor, i.e.
Right.
you have to be somebody with millions of dollars in assets that you can play with, right?
I'm sure there would be millions of people who would be willing to put in $10
That's right.
to equal the amount that's needed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where the money is coming from in terms of the money.
Yeah.
It matters to the people where it's coming.
And we're starting to see blockchain approaches to real estate trusts like this,
Yeah.
where you can invest $10 in a building,
Yeah.
right, and have some payback for being a,
Right.
you know,
I
because
think
most
that's the
people can't
future.
afford $1 million apartment anymore,
Yeah.
or certainly not $100 million building.
And what's happening with banks? Banks are, you know, going to be virtual. Most of the banks are going to be virtual banks. You're not going to have the existing banks of today. Probably, I'd say 40 years from now, most of them will be
Maybe
kind of
less.
changed.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
Maybe
All
less.
right.
Our bank. I mean, we had to go to a bank to
We
set
are
up our business,
disruptors.
and that was the first
Yeah.
time
Oh my
I'd been to a
gosh.
bank in a long time.
That
right?
took over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just, oh, here, can you sign this form? Oh, we have another form for you to sign. And we need to look this up. And it's just to open a business,
Yeah.
you know, checking account.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And soon we're going to be able to do that in our glasses with a remote banker who will scan the forms and they'll appear in our area and
yeah,
we'll
they
sign
look
with our
like
finger
forms.
or with our
Yeah.
fingerprint or with our eyes, right? Our eyes are a fingerprint, and we'll talk to Siri and say, hey Siri, will you approve that form, right? Something like that. Or
Why not?
Alexa or Google Assistant, right? Hey Google, you know, approve that form, and boom.
Okay, the solutions are very complex, but the updates in civilizational protocols and codes in order to enable it are extremely important. And the solutions that you laid out were good. We have a lot to put. We have a lot of faith in the young people and to do this.
Yeah.
Hopefully, from simultaneously a grassroots level and an industry level and a governance level, it can all come together into the good updates that we need. Okay, on the way, I want to mention, we kind of touched on this a little bit for those that are interested. I think it's important for you guys to explain what Unity and Unreal Engine are, which are the code and the design in developing tools for AR, VR, mixed realities, and how people can get introduced to them and started with them.
I mean, in the 80s, there was a company that sprung out called Adobe that, you know, created a tool called Illustrator that let you create graphics like this. These graphics are a little line, right? A vector. That's how Illustrator worked. And then another app called Photoshop came on, which was a grid of pixels, right? Like a camera, grid of pixels. And those two ideas were how you created graphic design on a piece of paper or on a screen or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unity and Unreal are that for the 3D world, because we're moving from a world that's like this to a world that's like this. 3D.
Even that noise wasn't fun. You just hit it and we heard a noise.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's moving to a 3D world. So how do I make you have a costume on your face? That would be done in Unity or Unreal.
And is there a depth sensing to that then? How do
No, I'm just talking about Unity is a 3D engine.
Yes, correct.
A game engine.
But then the question is, how do I
And they
pick?
build things
Unity
like
doesn't
trees.
only have to be 3D. You could do regular games in
could,
Unity,
yeah.
but it's
In
very
this context,
wide.
it's a 3D.
And we can move the tree,
Yeah.
the couch 10 feet away, 30 feet away, 50
Yes.
Yeah.
feet away. And
'Cause
then
we're in
it
3D.
dynamically adjust the code.
Yes, and you can bring assets from other companies and apps in.
From that
Yeah,
volume.
you
like-
bring them from the outside, and you like
or like in Job,
push them
I won't
into
do
the
it here
Unity.
because this is real liquid, but
Yeah.
in Job Simulator, a game that you play in VR that was built in Unity, when you pour the cup, they have polygons coming out and hitting the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's all code, all done in Unity. And the polygons that are spraying out of the cup were all designed in Unity, right? Unity is like Photoshop and Illustrator together, but for the 3D world.
And actually, Unity and Unreal, believe it or not, are not that hard to learn.
No. You can learn on YouTube.
So that's another job that people could do. Yeah.
You can learn on YouTube.
You can go to YouTube teach me how to use Unity.
It's certainly easier than most programming languages. Yeah.
I mean, you're overselling it.
Well,
It is a programming language.
No,
You can get complex.
most. I
You
said
can get
than
complex.
most programming
True.
languages.
It's easier than assembly.
I mean, people are talking about, AI and machine learning and
Sure.
TensorFlow and all of that. That's very thorny.
Matrix math versus.
That is really heavy duty. Unity and Unreal, I mean, you could go to school for like 3 months and come out and ready to create a project.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
relatively easy.
A year if you don't have any programming understanding. I mean, you do need to understand a little bit about computing. It helps to understand this this
We
world
have
of
different
creating
ranges of-
vectors and creating things
Yeah.
in the computer, right?
Yeah.
But so if you came out of space and landed here, you have to do a little more work. But
we can find this now on the internet, and in a couple months learn Unity and then
Yeah.
there's schools that'll teach you how to be a programmer and pay for you to Lambda school.
Oh yeah, and then they'll take a percentage of the
Yes.
of the salary afterward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been trying to get someone from Lambda School. We'll end up doing that in a bit. Okay. All right. And let's wrap on. We talked a lot on 5G. We talked a lot on movies. We started touching a little bit on the other industries here,
Yeah.
but we'll have to do another round where we get deeper. Retail, correct? Yeah.
Manufacturing.
Yes.
Logistics.
At the Game Developer Conference. So this is sort of how new jobs are coming along, right? I'm at the Game Developer Conference at the VR party, and I meet a guy who's building something for the supply chain, trucking and manufacturing, and they just turned on their first cold storage, completely automated warehouse, right? Just this month turned on. Right, so think about that. All robots inside, moving salad. Salad comes in on one truck, moves around, goes out the other side. He says that every pallet has now a sensor array. They know how much jostling each thing had and what temperature it was, whether if they're shipping it across the United States. They know exactly the rate at which one of the AC units on the truck is failing, because the temperature keeps going up, right?
That's a very specific example, and there's thousands of these that are applicable to the vertical. Yeah.
I met a guy who runs an oil refinery in Canada. He said, it's funny, but the analysts who watch my industry know that my factory is down before I do. And I go, how did they do that? Well, they put a CubeSat up in space, watches the temperature of my factory from space. And reports to the analysts that, hey, that factory is cold, so it's offline. And they know before he gets a call from the shop foreman and says, hey, we just went offline. Right?
Yeah, all the way up to satellites and how quickly you can get data from the satellites as well. Yeah.
Spatial computing is computing you can move you or a virtual being. We haven't even started talking about virtual beings. That's a whole nother show.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
a whole nother show.
Magically,
Robots and virtual beings.
and people moving through computing in 3D.
AI characters.
Well, AI, that's virtual beings.
Well,
right?
no. Okay, there's a difference.
All right, tell me. What
Virtual beings could be a duplicate of you. Okay, AI character is a fictional
That's a
character.
scary thing right there.
AI character is a fictional character that is developed that uses natural language processing and machine learning to be able to talk to you as if they're a real person.
Yeah.
So they could be quite different.
I put that all in virtual being. That's all in virtual being. Yeah. There's a virtual influencer in China that had 40,000 people watch a concert. She's not real. She's up on a screen, and 40,000 people went to watch a concert of her. Think about that one. So virtual influencers are now at the.
It was actually filmed pretty well too.
Yeah.
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 Oh, wow. Yeah.
We talk about cultural shifts. This stuff is going to deeply change our culture. We're gonna, in the next decade, we're gonna go through something like we went through in the 60s, where culture is just crazy changed. Cars. We don't yet have movies that have self-driving cars in them, right? And movies are our culture.
The sci-fi, some sci-fi films.
Yeah,
like
but not in the dark.
Yeah,
You
not
know,
the reality.
Not in the real movies where
Yeah.
kids go to a shopping mall.
Yeah.
You know, kind of movie.
I'm excited for
Shopping
round
mall.
3.
There's no shopping mall.
What's a shopping mall?
right.
It's a place you go to play VR at, actually. Because they're going to rip down the inside of a mall, and you're going to go with your goggles and go play some VR with your friends, right?
The amount of industry applications are endless, and I'm looking forward when we sit down again, we can dive into a lot of these AI agents, and we can talk about more of the industry applications and the nuance and the big scale, the satellite view scale on Earth, and the way that it's going to impact our children that are growing up. So, yeah, let's do this again with a round 3, and let's see if with all this 2020s knowledge that you've been just soaking up like a sponge about the profound shift, does it feel like we're in a simulation any more than it did a year ago?
Oh, why would it make a difference if you believe you're in a simulation? It always kind of I go in and out of that, actually. There are days where I do feel like I'm in a simulation.
On Saturday night, I was holding
Yeah.
a rock in my hand that was 6 billion years old, and supposedly is how life formed on Earth. I don't know. The simulation question is one of those questions that billionaires ask each other over dinner at Davos. It's sort of like a funny thing, like, what can we put into the press and into social media that's not provable either way?
It is not provable.
And
That's
has
the
no
point.
real consequences
Yeah.
either way. Like, if you believe in simulation and I don't believe in simulation, it's just an interesting dinner conversation. Right?
It is really relevant to the idea of a created environment that we're talking about.
That's right.
So if we are the puppeteers of this new created environment that's three-dimensional and looks completely real, why can't there be something that's doing that with us?
That's right.
So I don't know, maybe. Some days yes, some days I'm like, no. So it depends.
I agree.
I don't think there's a guy playing with us like that.
No, I didn't say.
But
we are puppeteers.
billions
No
of
one's
years
puppeteering us.
evolved to
I
bring
don't
this
think.
thing called analog to us, right?
Analog.
Analog. The wave of photons hitting that plant is analog.
Oh, this is a lot of philosophy. You can go on for years
Right.
with the
Well,
philosophy.
here's where I'm going.
You want to talk Berkeley with me?
Neil Young
right.
taught me the difference between digital and analog. Neil Young, the rock singer. He took me into a studio and let me listen to Harvest Moon on his 2-inch analog tape deck in the studio where he recorded it. So it's pretty badass, I do have to admit. And then we listened to it on digital when his audio engineer cut it from analog to digital. Digital is numbers, right? So music on our phone is numbers, right?
Yeah, but this is numbers.
Trillions.
There's numbers in here.
That's smooth.
No, you don't understand.
But it's
This can be devised in number
yeah.
wise
But you're
fashion.
perceiving it in an analog sense.
That's our sensory system,
get
which is made.
But at a math and physics level, yes,
But
it could.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a gap
Yeah.
between the digital music and the analog music.
Yeah.
Even at high resolution, 600 kilohertz per second is 10 times more than a CD. CD is 44 or 12 times more, right? CD is 44.1 kilohertz, 44,000 slices of numbers per second, right? That's music on Spotify, right? And so even if you amp that up to really a lot more slices, still a gap. That's why people are like, oh, when we get Black Mirror on our face, right? When we get the perfect optic that is 32K or 84K or whatever it's going to be in the future, or jacked right into our optic nerve, people are going to still seek out analog.
I don't know.
Because there still will be a difference.
It might get smaller
That
and
said,
smaller and smaller.
I'm living in digital most of the time.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think you may be the first one that's said that no matter how good the technology gets, that there will still be a difference.
There'll be a difference, and you'll seek it out here and there. I mean, we already are. A friend of mine just 2 days ago picked me up in his older BMW and said, let's talk about the difference between your Tesla and my analog old crappy car, which has some attributes to it. It is a very analog machine. It has a different feel to it, a different experience to it, a different noise to it, right? And humans will seek that out on a racetrack, right? You will pay a lot of money to drive that car in the future on a racetrack where you can get that engine going. And
I have a
hear
theory,
and
though.
feel it, right?
Yes.
In analog.
Yes.
Because she's going to say we're going to wear the glasses and drive that car in digital.
And I'm saying that at some point, you won't be able to tell the difference using your sensory perception.
I say that's wrong.
Okay.
But
That's good.
It's good. Yeah, you gotta be different.
But-
yeah.
We have to speed into 40 years into the
that's
future,
a
or 50 years.
very
All right.
privileged thing to experience.
I'm saying at this point in time,
No. We're going to come at it a different way.
we'll
I
see.
toured the slums in India. Many billions of people around the world. And you don't even have to go to slum. Go to Shenzhen, where I got a tour in China, and I met a college professor. So a fairly high person in society. And he lives in a 600 square foot box with 3 people in that box. It's not like this. America is still, even though our housing value is getting so expensive that people are starting to share more and more space, it's far worse for most people around the world. And they don't have the money to travel. 20% of Americans have a passport, 80% don't. So I've experienced the Taj Mahal in its analog glory, and it is glorious to put your hand on that thing and see the jewel work and the work on that stone. But she's right. Most people will never experience the analog, and the digital will be pretty fucking bad.
I'm just saying at some point it'll
Interesting.
catch up.
No, there will always be a difference if you go to the analog thing. Neil Young proved it to me, even at a high resolution.
now.
No, digital is still not
It's
the
not-
smooth wave.
Yeah,
It's not. It's just is.
Digital plus.
This is
We don't have that
still transistors, which are light switches that go on and off. They're still. You can put
Okay, right
billions
now you might
and
be
then
right.
trillions of them on
Yeah.
this thing. The gap will be so small that it'll be hard to tell, but there
Okay.
still will be a gap.
More
Existen-
to debate.
an
By the way,
existential gap.
by the way, here's another way to look at it. Right now, there's gamma rays going through you that you can't feel, you can't
I
sense.
know.
But if I had a sensor, I could show them to you.
Well, there's
So
all
are
kinds of
we-
realities that we're not
Are
aware
we
of.
sensing something in the analog world that even when you get the trillions of semiconductors on your glasses, even when you get jacked into the optic nerve, can you tell the difference? The other problem is,
School.
here's one last thought. One last thought for the far off future. Like my kids, by the time they're 50, they're going to get jacked into their optic nerve.
Yeah? And?
They might choose never to experience that. All.
That's another philosophical question. The
They
brain
might.
in the vat.
This
might-
This is all very
Yes.
good for when
Yes.
we come back on.
They might never
yeah.
experience
Yeah.
analog.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that'll
Yeah.
be like, which pill is that? I forget.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah,
red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I want digital like beamed into my mind,
Yeah.
because that'll be something soon.
Totally.
right?
Totally.
Beamed in my mind. That movie just comes into my mind. but taking that surgery or putting that into my optic nerve means I'll never experience.
Scoble, you're already in that world. You're in that world already. Ron says the only thing that we're going to learn when we get closer to the real indistinguishable virtual reality is that this already is virtual reality. So
I want to meet the programmer.
Yeah, we'll be the programmers and meeting the programmers all at the same time.
Yeah.
We'll
If this is a simulation, it's a badass program.
It's a badass program.
Yes,
That's right.
it's really good.
That's right.
It's really good. You're
right,
even
it's really
like just you. It's just
It's
really
just really
amazing.
I am very deeply grateful that we were able to have this round 2. It was very profoundly enlightening, and we're looking forward to Infinite Retina and all of the work that you guys will be doing here. Yes, major cheers to you guys.
Hey.
Yes, great job putting this together. Yeah, it's exciting. And the team's very powerful, and your knowledge base about what's happening is very powerful, and you're already doing really good interviews as well. If you guys find Infinite Retina's YouTube channel, they're already doing powerful interviews with thought leaders in the space. There's the 360 camera again.
No, we're using this because it's a new tool for storytelling that is radically going to change media.
Yes,
This is really cool.
Yes, soon we'll have 360 camera on simulation. You'll be able to look at all of our different faces, all swiping through as you please, joining us right here in the center of the table. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you both tremendously. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below on today's episode. Go and share more conversations about what all of this technology is going to enable. Go and share it with your friends, your family, online, at your workplaces, everywhere you go. Go and start talking about it more and sharing it around. Huge shout out to Ron Vargas, our producer and director. Thank you very much for the show. And support the artists and entrepreneurs that you believe in. Support the organizations around the world that are making tremendous impact. Go and support simulation. Our links are below as well. And build the future, everyone. Manifest your dreams into the world. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Peace.
Yeah.